What's going on, YouTube? It's Shot Callers Podcast, back here with another video. Today, we're going to be discussing the Minnesota Timberwolves and my thoughts on Anthony Edwards. I don't really have anything specific to exactly talk about on the Minnesota Timberwolves other than what type of direction I think they should move in, because they have been a very confusing team this season. At times, we've seen them, especially at the beginning of the year, we saw them go on spurts, win streaks, and then go on a huge losing streak, and it's been back and forth with this team. It's been very interesting to see because they have the talent to at least compete in the West. And by compete, I'm probably more say, I think they could at least secure a top 6 seed, probably around the 6 seed, compete against a 3 seed and push it to like 7 games. I wouldn't have been shocked, especially how deep that West is. But it's been really interesting to see. And in my opinion, I think D'Angelo Russell needs to go. Now, he has improved his play at a somewhat better level as the season goes on. But at the beginning of the year, he was really inconsistent. But overall, like I said, I do believe D'Angelo Russell needs to go, and I'll explain that later on in the video. I'll explain their kind of role players and pieces that needs to fit around Karl-Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards. And yes, they should not trade Karl-Anthony Towns. They need to keep the deal between Edwards and Towns because those two can make it happen. I just don't believe they have the proper role players around them in order to win a championship at this current state. So I'm going to talk about that. And so without further ado, let's get started. So just don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, turn on post notifications so you never miss a beat. If this is your first time being on the channel, hi, my name's Kyler, Shot Callers Podcast. We upload daily NBA videos every single day. And we are doing a podcast in the spring/summer. So stay tuned for that. All the links will be in the description below. But without further ado, like I said, let's get started. So in their last game against the Portland Trail Blazers, Anthony Edwards had 40 points and didn't have any assists, but it's okay. We're going to ignore that for now. I'm going to talk about his playmaking abilities in a little bit. Karl-Anthony Towns had 17 to 17. D'Lo had 22 points on somewhat solid efficiency, if you want to even call that solid, but he played fine. And the issue with this team has always been throughout the years is defense. And now the team actually hasn't been as atrocious as on defense as they used to be. And I really did like the addition of Patrick Beverly to this squad. You can really actually tell the maturity ever since he's joined this team with this squad. But at the end of the day, I don't believe that starting Jaden McDaniels, Jared Vanderbilt, and D'Angelo Russell are the right pieces for you to win a championship in your starting lineup, especially. And I think their role players are suspect, which I will tackle them in a little bit. But I just don't like their role players, in my opinion. Now, Jared Vanderbilt, actually, I will exclude from that. I do think he actually can be a solid role player off the bench. I don't like him in the starting lineup. But I don't think he's that bad on defense. He does a lot of things that Cat isn't able to do. And I think he's actually more mobile of a taller defender than Cat is, which is kind of what is needed around Cat. And like I said, Patrick Beverly was a really good addition because, like I said, defense. And we all know how bad D'Angelo Russell is on defense. We already understand that. And Jaden McDaniels has shown a lot of flashes of what he can be. He's this long, lengthy, skinny, like 6'7" small forward. And I'm curious to see what they're going to do with him. I think they should honestly keep him and have him come off the bench as well. Assuming they can get the proper team around Edwards and Cat, because I do like Vanderbilt and McDaniels as potential, more so Vanderbilt. But at the end of the day, like I said, those 3 players, especially, maybe I'm just not a big D'Lo fan. Those players cannot be in your starting lineup in order for you to win a championship. Now, D'Lo, let me tackle him real quick. I do believe that D'Lo and Anthony Edwards is a really good 1-2 scoring punch. Even though I do believe that D'Lo's efficiency is mediocre, if you want to call it. And I do understand that. And at times he'll show up and he'll show like, wow, like D'Lo can really put the ball in the hoop. But at the end of the day, when you're not getting to the free throw line, when you're not a good finisher, and when you're just a streaky 3-point shooter, it's really tough to really rely on you, especially since Anthony Edwards is still young. He's still developing, growing. And so Karl-Anthony Towns is really the only consistent offensive player at the end of the day. Now, I'm not saying Anthony Edwards isn't consistent, but like I said, he's so young, he hasn't even came close to his ceiling. And like I said, my personal opinion, I think his ceiling is someone like Clyde Drexler. I think he has that potential. I think he has that Hall of Fame potential. He's averaging 22 points this season. And 3.5 assists, like 4 to 5 rebounds. He's been really good. And what's crazy to me is we haven't even talked about his defensive potential. He had 3 steals and a couple blocks, too, against the Portland Trail Blazers yesterday. And that's what's crazy that doesn't get talked about is when Anthony Edwards is locked in on the defensive end, he really can be this, like, truly, like, two-way the two-way player, an elite two-way player. And when we think of players like that, we think of Klay Thompson. And that's the first person that comes to mind because he's more. We always think of 3-and-D players. So I guess he really wasn't the perfect two-way player, but two-way we can think of like someone like LeBron James. We can think of Giannis Antetokounmpo. And some players like of that elite caliber, I think Anthony Edwards can touch that. Maybe not in the top 5 status, but I think a top 10 player, I don't think is out the realm of possibilities for Anthony Edwards in a few years. And pair that up with Karl-Anthony Towns, who I think is a top 15 to top 20 player, and a top 3 to 4 big man overall. With elite 3-point shooting, by the way, which needs to be talked about, and a player who picked it up on the defensive end, albeit still not elite by any means, but still not. He's not atrocious like he was his rookie year or anything like that. They have the 2 pieces that they need to build around a championship contender. They just need the right role players, and I'm basically going to be also mentioning that in a little bit. And the point I'm trying to make here is I think Anthony Edwards is that dude. If y'all remember, I just dropped the Anthony Simons video where I think Anthony Simons can be that guy for the Blazers. That was more of an assumption, a prediction, more so like I just have faith in Anthony Simons. Whereas Anthony Edwards is that dude. And the reason why he's not getting talked about as that dude is because he plays in Minnesota. And it's unfortunate, small market team. But at the end of the day, Anthony Edwards is already that dude at the age of, 2021? And I think that's just absolutely ridiculous. So watch out for them. But I'm about to talk about the role players in a second, so stay tuned for that. So when we talk about the role players for Minnesota, they're really mediocre at best. We have Jalen Noel, who's honestly a young scorer who I actually think can make it in this league as like a off-the-bench type of scorer. I mentioned him last year in one of my videos when he was a rookie, and I did like Jalen Noel's potential, but outside of scoring, I'm not really sure how much more he'll bring. And even with his scoring ability, I'm not sure if he's really a starter-level player. Now, we have yet to see that. I think he could actually reach that potential as a starter-level player, but right now I just see him nothing more than just a solid scorer off the bench for an all-right team. But I would much rather see him as maybe in a few years as a really good scorer, maybe 6-man scorer off the bench type player. Jake Layman, a spot-up shooter, doesn't really provide much other than shooting and just a body to throw in on defense. Naz Reid, a quality backup big man, and Karl-Anthony Towns. Nothing special with him, but at least he's younger. He's got a little bit of athleticism to him, so he's an all right piece. I think you can probably hold on to him as well. Patrick Beverly, we already mentioned him earlier, a 3-and-D player who brings veteran presence and leadership to the team, who I think they 100% need to keep. Taurean Prince, they can really just get rid of him. He played 27 minutes last night, or about 27 minutes, but outside of that, he really hasn't played much this year. We have Josh Kogi, who's we want to believe that he can be a 3-and-D player, but he's really just a defender. He's a pretty inefficient scorer. He really can't do much on the offensive end for that matter, actually. But he can play defense, so I'll give him that, I guess. But I don't really think he's that good, honestly. So you can probably get rid of him as well. And Malik Beasley. Now, Malik Beasley is basically, in my opinion, what I believe Jalen Noel can become. But who just isn't there yet. And Malik Beasley, I believe, has been a little disappointing for the Timberwolves this season. He hasn't been bad or anything, but I truly believe that he can make that jump up to somewhat to where I thought he could be like Jordan Clarkson. And so that's where I believe that Malik Beasley could be, and he just isn't on that level. Now, I'm not saying he's bad, like I said, but I just thought he could be a Jordan Clarkson level player. And that was my opinion on Malik Beasley. So that's kind of sort of my quick take on the role players on the Minnesota Timberwolves. But overall, I do believe that they are heading in the right direction. But at some point, they do need to hurry up and build the proper role players around Anthony Edwards and Karl-Anthony Towns, because Towns, I'm worried that it could come to a point in the future where they might need to trade Towns due to whatever reasons. I'm not sure what that reason could be. But they need to hurry up and make a move, because I'm getting slightly annoyed watching this team flash so much potential and just not be able to capitalize it night in and night out. So that's quickly my take on the Minnesota Timberwolves. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Turn on post notifications so you never miss a beat. And with that said, shot callers out.